Hello and welcome. Today we have quite a few new things that we're going to be taking a look at. We have the new Mario liquid eyeshadows. So I picked up 4 of the shades. I also have the new hot mauve shade in the YSL blushes. And I purchased 6 of the new Givenchy lipsticks. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with the Makeup by Mario liquid eyeshadow. So these are called the Master Mattes Long Wear Cream Eyeshadow, and I purchased 4 shades. And let's go ahead. We're going to start off with swatches. So this one here is the shade Sandstone, and you can see how easy these are to blend out. And it really becomes a soft blurred effect on the eye. They're really, really easy to use. I think that part cannot be stressed enough. And then we have the shade Taupe, which, I don't really consider this a taupe. This is a light warm brown. You can see when you blend this out, you see a bit more of those orangey tones to it. So not really a taupe. It's definitely a warm brown. And then we have the shade Espresso. And this is going to be a rich chocolate brown. And you can see this is going to be a cooler tone brown, but still when you kind of spread that out, you do see some warmth. So it's not a super cool brown. It's still deep and fairly, it's not even quite neutral. It still leans a little bit warm, but there is some coolness to it that you can really see more when it's layered. So yeah, I guess you'd have to classify it more as neutral. Then the last shade I picked up is Slate. And this is really going to be more of a blue. You can see, it's like a bluish gray, but you know how grays can always lean blue or brown. This is really definitely more of a slate blue than a slate gray. So I think it actually, pairs nicely with the other shades to kind of mix and match. And, you can mix these easily together to get the color that you want. And so this is definitely going to be a cooler tone shade. So again, we've got Sandstone, Taupe, Espresso, and Slate. So I hope that's helpful. Let's take a look at the demos. The Makeup by Mario Master Mattes Long Wearing Cream Eyeshadow retails for $25 US. They are available at Makeup by Mario and Sephora. And we have 2 milliliters of product and 18-month shelf life, and these are made in the United States. According to Makeup by Mario, these medium to full coverage formulas apply effortlessly with fingertips or brush for reliable pro performance. They can be worn alone, layered for a sculpted look, or as a base underneath eyeshadow. These shadows are a mix of warm and cool tones inspired by Mario's iconic Master Mattes eyeshadow palettes. If you have the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes, the Neutrals palette, which was one of his original palettes, the shades in here are very similar. I think the best thing about these is they're very easy to use. They give you kind of this velvet blurred look on the lids. They're not drying. You have plenty of playtime with these, but they do set fairly quickly still, so you only want to do one eye at a time. I just really love the way the colors blend. I think when you're blending the colors, a domed brush works best. I really like the way that you can be a little bit more precise with that versus some sort of shader or flat eye brush. These are long wearing. I wouldn't say that they're iron proof per se. I don't need to wear another primer with these, but if you're going for a very long day, like past 12 hours and so forth, then you might want to consider wearing a primer underneath. You can get some mild creasing. Honestly, the amount of creasing though is very, very minimal. So even with a long day, I don't feel like it's enough to be a concern, at least on me. My lids, for the most part, my skin is balanced. So my lids are not particularly oily, but right now that it's summer and we've got the heat and the humidity, I do have more of an issue with, makeup wearing well. And I can tell that these do actually hold up very well through the heat and humidity. So I've been wearing these on and off for about a week and a half to 2 weeks now. So they do work very well. I think the best part though is just how easy to use and the blendability. You can see that even when you're blending colors that have kind of, your base has kind of already set on the lid, you can still get a nice soft blended look with that instead of having it look patchy. I think we've got some great shades here. These are really great neutral everyday shades. The formula itself feels more like a velvety liquid lipstick than a typical cream eyeshadow. A lot of the cream eyeshadows just have a less velvety texture. This feels a little bit more velvety, and I think they're really great. So these are really nice. Let's take a look at a few comparisons. So this is the Master Matte's The Neutrals eyeshadow. I just wanted to kind of compare some of these shades here. I don't have the color names, but here is our powder slate blue. You can see that they are going to be similar. The one in the powder form is just slightly more denim looking. I would say let's try this one to go with our taupe here. No, that's too dark. Let's try the one right above it and see how that one compares. You can see that the powder for that one is slightly cooler. And I think we'll try this one for espresso. Let's see here. Again, that's going to be a little bit cooler too. So I think I'd have to say overall that our shades in the powders run slightly cooler than the liquids, but it's not a significant difference. Now, this is one of the Danessa Myricks Color Fix Nudes, and this is shade Nude 1. This is something that I'll use sometimes as an eye base or primer. And the formula on these, it doesn't have that same like moussey texture. It's more of like your traditional liquid. I would have to say though that the Danessa Myricks are a little bit more crease proof on me than the Makeup by Mario. I think when you're dealing with the matte shades though, this velvety finish you get with the Mario gives you a better blended look. It's a little bit harder to get that same finished look with the Danessa Myricks. So you've got some trade-offs there. This is the Armani. This is 90M. So let's put this one here. But again, this is going to be a thinner liquid. It doesn't really have as much of that velvety look, but it is going to still give you kind of a softer velvety look. This one though, the Armani, we've got a range of colors and finishes. I feel like these can go a little bit more lighter coverage more easily than the Makeup by Mario. They feel a little bit more wet, less moussey. So the formula itself feels a little bit thinner when you have more product on there, which is hard to say. You know, they're both thin on the eyelids. I don't really feel them or notice them, but this just feels like it has a little bit more air in it, so it's a little plumper while you're working with it, if that makes sense. And this is a Violet FR Yo paint, and this is in Tout Doux. And you can see we have a similar applicator here. This also has kind of like a velvety appearance to it. It blends out nicely, but these feel and smell a little bit more like a traditional like paint, like a wall paint. So like a latex paint you would use to paint your room. So a little bit different there, but we do have a very similar velvety effect and finish with the Violet FR. Overall, the Makeup by Mario matte eyeshadows, I think they're a really great formula. You get this nice blurred look. You know, they're very easy to use, very easy to blend. I think for the finished look, the Violet FR is going to be the most similar in what the finish looks like. These are slightly heavier, a little bit less moussey. They have a bit more of a paint-like texture, and I feel like, you know, you can both get a ton of pigmentation. You know, you can get these very dark for both formulas, but these are slightly, the VLF are slightly more full coverage than the Makeup by Mario, just overall slightly more pigmented in general. I would say that they're pretty comparable in terms of wear time and finish. And the biggest difference is going to be color selection, finishes, because VLFR does have shimmer finishes as well. So these are going to be my closest comparisons. I hope that was helpful. And let's go ahead and move on to the YSL blush. So YSL has released or is releasing 3 new blush shades. Here in the US so far, we only have the Hot Mauve shade. It's available at Macy's. I haven't seen it at any other retailers yet, but we should be getting the other 2 shades as well. One is Chili Crush, which is a bright red, and then we have another beautiful magenta shade. I can't wait to try those. They have released that you know, in other locations so far, such as like Selfridges in the UK, but they have it already, so forth. So This one here is Hot Mauve, and this is going to be shade number 23. And right when I opened it, I was like, this is what I wanted Rose Haze to be like. So we will definitely be comparing those. And let's take a look at this on the cheeks. The YSL blushes retail for $46 US. We have 6 grams of product. They have matte finishes as well as shimmer finishes. These are going to be made in Italy. We do have a mirror inside the packaging here. And we have a 2-year shelf life. I personally really like the YSL blushes. I typically do, kind of mix one of the mattes with one of the shimmer shades. I love kind of making my own satin finish with those. But I think these are really great. A lot of the like nude shades that they've released so far are really going to be more of a warmer base. So I was really looking for something that was a little bit cooler in tone, but not that bubblegum pink that they have. And this is slightly cooler in tone, but I would have to say it's still fairly warm. This is going to be more of a peachy rose kind of shade. So, it's still warmer than I expected. So let's take a look at a few comparisons, but I do have to say, it's cooler than Rose Haze, but this one here's the new one. This is going to be our Hot Mauve. This is Rose Haze. You can see Rose Haze definitely has like a warmer hue to it. Let's go ahead. We'll put it like this. But you can see that they're similar. Rose Haze is going to be a little bit deeper. It's more that it has like a deeper terracotta peach in it versus a slightly lighter true peach in it. They still both have a little bit of a rosy hue to them, but they're definitely going to be on the warmer side. This one here is number 12, Nocturnal Nude, which again is going to be kind of a deeper warm shade, even more terracotta, more orange in it than the other two. And just for comparison's sake, this is 87. This one is called Pink Voltage. And you can see that this is going to be a bright, more bubblegum pink here. Definitely cooler in tone. And then the other one I have is 44, which is in the shimmer finish. And this is the Nude Lavalier shade, which is going to be more of a cooler tone medium rose. So you can see how our new shade here kind of matches up. So this is Hot Mauve. This is going to be Rose Haze, Nocturnal Nude, Voltage Pink, and Nude Lavalier. Overall, I do like the shade better than Rose Haze and Nocturnal Nude. It's still warmer than I would like. I'm happy with it and I would purchase it again because it's a really beautiful nude. But I do hope they bring out something a little bit cooler in tone that's still kind of on that like nude shade, that nude spectrum there. So still waiting for that. This isn't exactly what I was looking for, but I do like it. Let's take a look at the new Givenchy lipsticks. All right, so let's start off with the packaging. I'm very happy to see that Givenchy has moved to a slim style packaging. We do have the Givenchy logo here, which unfortunately, I actually don't really like it sticking up so much because depending on how you're storing these, if you're storing these in like a container that's designed for these thinner products, this kind of bumps up and gets in the way. So it won't sit all the way down depending on how deep your container is. So I personally don't love this. I would have loved to have something, keeping it still smooth. So we do have slim style packaging though. Very happy with that because with these velvety formulas, we know that that will definitely help prevent breakage. And unfortunately, I do have to say, I think these are replacing the Givenchy Le Rouge Deep Velvet lipsticks, which have been one of my favorites since they first came out, but it's been really hard to find them and they are no longer on the Givenchy website. So I did pick up some new shades, but we're going to talk about my thoughts on this. So this here is N01 and you can see that this is going to be it's more of a medium to deep nude with rosy hues to it. They do not put the names on the actual product or the boxes, but if you go to the website, this is Nude Mousseline. And this is described as a light rosy nude. I'd say it's a little bit warm for what I consider a rosy nude. This one here is N02. This is called Tailored Nude. And you can see it's a little bit deeper. This one's actually a little bit pinker. This is called a Rosewood Nude. And this one's slightly cooler in tone, but they still run warm. This one here is N03, Chiffon Crush. And you can see this is going to be more of a light beige with a touch of rose and peach to it. This is described as a natural creamy beige inspired by the delicate drape of chiffon fabric. And this is a pretty neutral shade here. I think this is a really nice, like, basic, you know, if you're looking for a lighter lip, this is a nice basic light nude shade there. Kind of smack dab in the neutral range, but still leans slightly warm. And then we have N04. This is the one that I've been testing for a while in particular because this is probably the coolest shade out of the ones I have. This is called Soft Undercut. It's described as a soft pink tone nude. And yeah, this one is definitely going to be the rosiest, the pinkest of the ones that I have. It is going to be, it's neutral. It leans a little bit cool. But again, there's still like this undercurrent of warmth in all of these shades. Then the one that I have on my lips right now, this is R15. So this is Sculptural Red. And this is described as a blue-based bright raspberry red. This one here reminded me the most of, you know, my favorite red lipstick, the 36 L'Interdit, which is not in this line. So this one made me think of that one the most. We will swatch those for comparison. You can see there is a little bit of a hint of a blue base to it, but it's still more of a neutral red. And you can kind of, what I really have always liked about L'Interdit, and this works the same way, depending what lip liner you wear with this, you can make this one look a little bit warmer or a little bit cooler. So the lip liner that I have paired with it right now is Tom Ford's 105 Private Client. I'll just put this right here. And you can see this is gonna be more of a burgundy shade, and that actually cools it off a little bit. Straight up, you'll see in the lip swatches in just a second that it will look a little bit more neutral, even a little warmer than what it looks like right now on my lips without the liner. And then we have 227 Pink Silhouette, which I was hoping for this like mauvey pink shade. And it's not really what I was thinking. This is described as a balanced soft rose. And I would say it's more of a terracotta rose. We definitely have some warmth in there. There is still a little bit of an orangey base in there. It's just not what I was expecting. I wanted something cooler in tone. So I feel like the photos on these, the swatches they have online, they're not that accurate. So let's take a look at the lip swatches. The Givenchy Le Rouge Velvet Matte long-lasting lipsticks retail for $49 US. We have 2.3 grams of product, and these are made in France. There is no suggested shelf life on these. They are described as an innovative, lightweight matte lipstick with long-lasting, intense color and a soft blur finish. They currently have 17 shades available. As I mentioned, I do feel like the photos they have online are a little bit deceiving. These shades do skew warmer in real life than they do in the photos, which is pretty common for a lot of brands. Now, as I mentioned, I think these are replacing the Le Rouge Deep Velvets, which have been one of my favorite velvet matte lipsticks. I love those. I still personally prefer those over these. Fragrance is the same as the Le Rouge Deep Velvets. Texturally, these feel like a cross between the Le Rouge Deep Velvets and the Le Rouge Sheer Velvets, which have a slightly lighter, more powdery feel. These almost feel like a cross between the two of them. The pigmentation level is deeper than the Sheer Velvets, more close to the Deep Velvets, but I feel like the Deep Velvets are a little bit more intense than these new ones. And I'll have swatches, lip swatches of the Sheer Velvets and the Deep Velvets afterwards, you know, at the end of the new shades, so you can kind of see the difference in the finishes. These are very comfortable on the lips. I actually really like the formula of these a lot, but I would have preferred them to keep the deep velvets and just kind of have these more as an in-between model. I do really like the fact that these are slim style packaging. I think that will definitely help with breakage. I didn't have a ton of breakage with my Rouge deep velvets until they got older. Once they were older, I did have some breakage as things started to, dry up and they weren't fitting in the tube as well. And that's going to happen with any product. Overall, I think this is a really nice formula. I really like the way that they feel. I like the way they look on the lips. I don't feel like they give as much of a blurred effect as perhaps is described in the description. And I still think that the sheer velvets have a little bit more of that blurred look than these do here. But these give a really nice velvety plush finish to them, slightly less intense than the deep velvets. But again, I think the formula is top notch, but the shade selection skews very warm. And one of the things I loved about the deep velvets and the sheer velvets, they had some cooler tone shades in there. Sometimes they were hard to get, but at least they were there. And I'd love to see those introduced to this line. So let's take a look at a few comparisons. So I wanted to swatch the sheer velvets that I put on the lips. This is 18 in the sheer velvet nude fume, and this is one of my favorites. And you can see the difference. You can see it really is more blurred and it's going to be a lighter shade. Now the sheer velvets are still available on the Givenchy website, so they have not been changed yet. And this is a deep velvet in 38 Granat Fume. Let's put this down here. You can see it's very intense. It's a little bit of a thicker product, a little creamier. And again, though, we've got some cooler shade options here. I want to compare the 36 L'Interdit. Now mine has broken at this point, but you can see how it compares to the R15. I do feel like R15 is the replacement for that. So they're very similar. And what they've always considered their classic red is 37 Rouge Grenade. And again, mine's broken on here as well. I have always preferred the L'Interdit as a kind of the classic red. This is going to be a bit more of a burgundy red. You can see again, it's cooler in tone than a lot of the offerings we have from the new line, but it's a really beautiful shade. And I wanted to compare number 10 Beige Nude, which is one of my favorites, my most worn. I've actually gone through a couple of these. And I wanted to show you how it compares to Chiffon Crush. You can see it is similar, and that's probably our replacement for it. But Beige Nude is a little bit cooler in tone. Chiffon Crush has a bit more peach in it. And this is 23 in the Sheer Velvet's Rose Irresistible. And this is what I was thinking Pink Silhouette was going to be like. A bit cooler pink. You can see this one's significantly lighter, but we have a little bit more blue in the base, and that's kind of what I was expecting. This one here is number 9 in the Sheer Velvets, and you can see this one is going to be significantly lighter. It's lighter than Chiffon Crush and so forth, but it is going to be a little bit more similar. Again, I feel like all of these shades in general, though, have a little bit of a cooler base than the new shades. It's almost as though the base on the original Sheer Velvets and Deep Velvets was more of a whiter base, and now we're dealing with more of a cream base, like with more of a yellow tint, like that creamy ivory. So I feel like that's kind of what the biggest difference here is. But again, the colors, they skew warm, but you've got some great options. I love this R15. It's probably the R15, the Chiffon Crush, and then N04, which is this one. Those are going to be my favorites. So we've got number 3, number 4, and R15. And those are my favorites out of the ones that I picked up. And I think it's a really nice formula. So definitely some pros, some cons with this compared to the old ones. I wish they kept around the Deep Velvets, but I am happy with this new formula as well. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you've tried any of these, and thank you so much for watching. Let's do a quick summary. We started off with the Makeup by Mario liquid eyeshadows. I think these are a great velvety blurred look on the lids. They are long wearing, not necessarily bulletproof, but they last for a long time. There's very minimal creasing when it does start to wear. And Sandstone in particular, I think is a nice base shade. These skew slightly warmer than the powder formula in my opinion, but we've got some really nice options and they've got some really beautiful shades here. For a liquid eye product, they actually have a surprisingly long suggested shelf life. Their suggested shelf life is 18 months. Standard for liquid eye products is usually 6 months. So I was definitely surprised to see that. I don't know that the formula will actually hold up a whole 18 months before drying out or changing texture at all. But I think they're a really nice product, definitely worth trying. The YSL blush in Hot Mauve, I like it. It's not as great as I was hoping it was going to be. I was hoping for a little bit of a cooler tone to it. It's a little bit warmer in tone than I was looking for, but I think it is a better option still than the Rose Haze or Nocturnal Nude, which didn't quite hit it for me either. So I'm happy with it, but you know, I'm not totally loving it as one of my favorite blushes. It's a nice nude though, skews a little warm, so it's definitely one that I will pair more with warmer, neutral looks versus cooler tone looks. And as we move on to the Givenchy, I think we've got a really nice formula. I'm sad that they have discontinued the deep velvets, if that is indeed what has happened. But I think we've got some nice shades. It's a beautiful formula. I like the slim style packaging, aside from the belt, which kind of takes up a little bit too much space in my opinion. It's too thick. But the colors, again, they skew a little bit warmer. I'd like to see some cooler tone options in here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know if you've tried any of these and what your thoughts are. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.